A plane's right wing was burning as it called for emergency assistance. It was about to crash, and the students inside were screaming in fear and agony. The crew tried their best to calm them down and instructed everyone to put on their oxygen masks. Suddenly, a large explosion happened, causing the students to hold tight to their seats and pray for a miracle. Kyo was called by his classmate. He was told to get a grip and to try to distract himself. The man smiled and referenced one of Liam Neeson's movies in relation to what they were going through. Kyo smiled at the joke, but noted that it was not quite funny. Mysteriously, the passenger jet carrying 510 people over the Sea of Japan vanished without a trace. The unprecedented mass disappearance caused an uproar throughout the world and left a deep scar in people's hearts. The families of the victims grieved without bodies, with only the names of the people they loved carved into their hearts. Kyo slowly opened his eyes and was greeted by the sight of a divine being who told them that they had been chosen as saviors. The being explained that they were going to be transported to a world of swords and sorcery far beyond their timeline. The land faced the brink of extinction due to the advances of the Demon King's army. Humans were being ravaged by demi-humans and beast folk corrupted by the power of darkness. With this, she would give them skills that could help them in their mission to save their new world. Suddenly, screens popped up out of nowhere, just like a game status menu. The students asked each other about the skills they had received. Meanwhile, Kyo looked at his screen and discovered that he had been bestowed with the power of the Shadow Walker. With this power, he had the ability to move through shadows and store objects within them. His friend Ren found his power impressive and assured him that if someone attacked them, he would be the one to knock them out. They had to survive in this new world after coming out alive from the plane crash. The divine being then called the 34 heroes and declared that from that moment on, their goal was to defeat the Demon King and save the world from destruction. They had to use their courage, wisdom, and skills. The door to another world opened, and they all took their first step onto their new path. 2 years later, the final battle of the heroes against the Demon King begins. A fierce battle raged for 3 days and nights between the two forces. Ultimately, the leader of the extroverts, Kira, defeated the Demon Lord. The humans win the war against the demon kind, and yet, this battle of saving humanity cost more to others. Kyo is crying for his dear friend Ren, who is one of the casualties of the war. They have fulfilled their mission and accomplished their goal of annihilating the Demon Lord. A year later, a blimp soars across the sky, broadcasting the anniversary celebration of the Nikal Empire, founded upon the ruins of the Demon Lord. Since it is a special day, the king will hold the ceremony himself and gather up everyone. She also told them that even the slaves will get permission to go outside. Meanwhile, in a mine, the slaves are being instructed that they will move to the ceremony grounds to watch the ceremony. Until then, they have to keep mining the demon army's remaining wreckage. The slaves, including Kyo, continue digging the cave. He eventually found another magic stone and stores the rest of them inside his shadow using his Vault of Shadow skill. His friend Tatsu talks to him and expresses disappointment with their level and skill. He thinks it is unfair to be a slave with other races and slowly get their life sucked up. Loners and introverts like them stay losers even in another world. Kyo agrees and mentions that he just wanted to go home. Suddenly, they hear Riku, the one who mans the mines, berating and kicking one of the slaves, who they recognized as one of their classmates, Nakano. Kyo remembers Ren and how he would surely help the poor man from being beaten up. Riku gives the man another brutal kick, and Kyo almost puts himself in between them. However, Tatsu gets a grip of him and stops him from interfering. He has no business playing hero there when he is helpless as well. They have collars on them that will likely explode if they rebel. In their world, at least they had rights, but in the new world, they are treated as the same kind of loser. Kyo grits his teeth and holds it all in. Even given skills and hailed as heroes, they still ended up as playthings for the strong in the world. He finds this infuriating, and if only he had power, he will change the world. He raises his pickaxe and forcefully digs it into the ground. Sweating, he discovers a light coming from the hole he just excavated. He then finds a rare stone, nothing like the usual magic stones he usually gets. From that moment, his fate began to twist. The blimp continues to fly in the sky, while the people cheer and wait for their king to arrive. The announcer then declares the arrival of the king and his royal party, while the slaves are watching from the sidelines. They take the stage and introduce themselves to the public. Kyo suppresses his anger upon seeing the king, calling him the Demon Lord instead. The public starts to get overwhelmed by his presence. Kira takes the stage and stands in front of his people. He clears his throat and states that it has been a year since they waged war against the demon kind. He owes the victory to the brave souls who fought alongside them and to the people who did not waver and lose their faith in the heroes. The extermination of the Demon King's surviving army is nearly complete, and the future of humankind depends on what they would do next. However, deep beneath the empire still lies the will of the Demon Lord. The core jewel and the source of the Demon King's power has not been retrieved yet and destroyed. Until then, they cannot truly say that the Demon King has been defeated. After his speech, the crowd immediately cheers, deeply respecting their king. He walks away from the stage and gives it up to Kurissu. The man starts the upbeat song and urges the crowd to make some noise and start the party. The DJ gives him a beat, and the fireworks show begins while the people are dancing. Meanwhile, the slaves stay grim in a corner. Later, they are back on their duty to mine the underground of the empire to dig some magic stones. While digging, Kyo remembers the unique stone he dug up earlier. It turns out that it is the Demon King's will and his source of power. He thought of using it to finally escape his hell. Just then, a slave goes down to his knees and begs the man to let them eat since it has been 4 days. Instead of taking pity on him, the man strikes him. He then raises his sword and is about to kill the slave, when Kyo remembers Ren and how his brave friend would fight for the slave if he were just there. Ren would never abandon anyone. Pumped up by the memory of his friend, Kyo grips his axe tightly and lunges at the man. He wants to be like his friend Ren, even though he is nowhere near as strong as him. Riku smacks him hard across the face. The force sends him instantly to the ground. In seconds, Riku's foot is already on his face, pushing him hard. The man laughs at his audacity, calling him foolish for even trying to fight. He then shouts a new order for every slave to beat the light out of Kyo. Helpless as well, the slaves start to beat him up to avoid punishment. In the end, Kyo remains weak and powerless in this world, and probably in the next. His doomed fate will never ever change, no matter how hard he tries. As he is about to lose consciousness, Riku commands the slaves to throw him into solitary. 3 slaves help to carry him while his friend is crying for him and expresses remorse for hurting him. In the cell, Kyo is being restrained. In pain, he wonders when it was the last time since he last ate. The Demon King's jewel shines beside him. A system pops up and informs him of his compatibility with the jewel. In that moment, the wounds in his body heal and his strength is restored. A female demon then appears before him and declares that he was chosen by the will of the Demon Lord and that he must follow that path with her. The female demon named herself Thasia, the servant of the Demon King. Kyo is in disbelief to believe that the Demon King is inside of him. He gained super strength and was able to break free from his restraint. From now on, he shall lead the demon race and rule the world. Thasia successfully unlocked the compatibility mode for him, and this means that he is to become the next Demon King. He scoffs at this, saying that he is not tailored to fight and does not have any unique combat skills. She grabs his hand and tells him that he is the only one their race could count on. Flustered, he realized that this is the first time someone ever relied on him. He has never felt like this before. Thasia admits that it pains her to rely on him since he was originally an enemy. Many of her comrades are still enslaved and their lands have been pillaged. Even the 4 heavenly kings of the Demon King's army, whom they relied on, have been enslaved. So, their hatred with the humans ran deep. Kyo comments that they have been told by the goddess that the Demon King's army were the ones who first invaded humanity. However, Thasia tells him that this is a lie. Many centuries ago, both humans and demons lived peacefully in the same land without ever claiming each other's territories. But 3 years ago, the heroes who emerged from the gate to another world broke that peace with their overwhelming power. The Demon King and his 4 heavenly kings fought for their race but were ultimately defeated. After the war, she patiently continued to wait for the compatible host for the Demon King's will. Kyo still cannot believe that he is the next Demon King. She points out that they share the same desire to take revenge on the hero kings. He has always been bullied by the same people from the past and the present world. Sure, he wants to take revenge on them, but there is not a chance that he is the next one to lead the demons. To prove it to him, they check his status. He still has his hero class, which is ironic to think about now that he has just become the Demon King. Since he has the ability to conquer the shadows, this alone is compatible with the Demon King's dark powers. However, she finds it hilarious that his level is only at 5. She thinks that it must be a glitch but discovers that he really is not the one meant to fight on the front lines. He has always been providing support by pulling out different weapons from the shadows. Hence, his level has not gone up a bit. Thasia cannot help but feel disappointed with their current situation. Since they are left with no choice, she decides that they need to train him to raise his level and opens a portal. She pulls him inside and tells him that they are in the Chamber of Wills, a space created by the will of the Demon King. The dying wishes of those who fought the Demon Kings of the past dwell within the space. In there, he will pass through countless doors and defeat the attacking remnants and absorb their level power. In addition to this, time flows differently there than it does on the outside, so he can train to his heart's content. With this, they can aim that they become the first to surpass level 99. After their discussion, Kyo is finally ready to face the first demon. A door opens and a low-ranking goblin appears. The demon lunges at him, and he can easily see its movements since it is not that fast. He uses his shadow skill and fetches his sword from his vault. He then slashes the goblin, annihilating it on the spot. Because of this, his level automatically rose up to 6. He looks back at Thasia excitedly, announcing that he has defeated a goblin. Fired up, he even thinks that leveling up is quite easy. However, she warns him that he must not let his guard down since goblins are creatures that like to flock. Just then, an army of goblins comes out from the door. Kyo is suddenly overwhelmed and alarmed by the situation, especially after seeing the bigger goblin boss on the far end. The goblins lunge at him at once. With no experience in fighting, the goblins easily take advantage of the situation and immediately injure him. The goblin boss raises his weapon against him and takes a strike. The blow leaves Kyo incapacitated and lying on the ground. He wonders if this is the moment when he will finally die. With nothing to leave in this world, alone and cold again, he has always been alone, and now he will die alone as well. As he closes his eyes, Thasia tells him that since they are in an artificial space, he cannot die there. With this, he resurrects, and his heart begins pumping again, sending a jolt of power into his body. He opens his eyes again, and his body is now being controlled by the power of the demon's will. It is telling him to wake up and fight, and screaming at him to be strong. Steeled by his hatred for the hero kings, he asks the demon's will for tremendous power. He summons his blade from the shadows, which is now transformed into a refined dark sword. Kyo's body is surging now with power, but it feels like it still is not enough. If he needs to die as many times as it needs to gain more power, he will do so. He will kill every monster inside the chamber to level up more and be the strongest. Resolute to get more power, he fully activates his new blade and annihilates every goblin on his way successfully. Thasia is glad to see his quick improvement, and Kyo admits that he is not afraid anymore. He lunges at the goblin boss and slashes him in half. Kyo finally accepts that he is the new Demon King, and this changes his class from hero to Demon King. On a rooftop, Kyo is face to face with his friend Ren, who is apologizing to him since he cannot protect him anymore. Kyo is overwhelmed by fear, especially after seeing his friend in a decomposing state. Suddenly, Ren is expressing remorse that he had to die first when he still had so much to do. Kyo wakes up with a jolt. He had just had a nightmare, and Thasia is sitting next to him. She tells him that it is normal since his body has not adjusted to the rapid leveling up yet, so he might feel that his body is foreign to him. She asks if he feels well now and touches his head, which flusters him. After defeating the goblin army, Kyo is currently at level 26. He did not expect much, but this is a significant achievement, and it feels like he has become a completely different person. It is incredible that his body feels light, and he cannot believe that this is exactly the power of a Demon King. He faces another door, and another beast comes out from it. The number of foes the Demon King has fought is simply staggering, but there is no time to be flustered. The lion monster is huge, and he starts to get nervous. He got caught up in excitement earlier, and now he is starting to feel uneasy. The lion launches an attack, and he immediately dodges. The attacks are faster and heavier than the goblin boss's attacks, and if those strikes were to hit him, he would be dead for sure. The lion's level is lower than his, and he can clearly see the attacks, but his body still cannot keep up with his level yet. The enemy lunges with another attack, and the brute force kills him on the spot. With this, his resurrection skill activates, giving him another boost and regenerating him. Even though he does not like the feeling, he knows that he has to go through regeneration. It is a disgusting sensation, and he can feel his blood pumping back into his body, with coming back to life being more painful than dying. However, he needs to make his body remember the sensation by dying over and over again. The lion raises its weapon, ready to strike again. Kyo, in turn, dodges the attack and leaps away. He tries to learn the beast's movements, and by this time, his fear of dying again slowly disappears. He then slashes his sword toward the enemy, annihilating it effectively. As a result, his level rises again. After that, he fights countless monsters that emerge from the doors one after another. He kills a giant owl, a humongous beast, and a venomous spider. He kills them repeatedly, and every monster that fights him is defeated, while he, in turn, is killed repeatedly as well. Even though different beasts fight him each time, he never shows any sign of surrender. He faces every beast head-on. There is even one that he fights repeatedly for 4 consecutive months because he keeps dying over and over again. He has lost count of how many times he has died. Over time, he encounters a transcendent monster whose level is immeasurable. Thasia smirks as she looks at him and admits that she had long suspected that he possessed that source of dark power. The loneliness, depression, envy, and guilt that he carries are what make him the perfect Demon King and the true source of dark power. When asked how long he has been inside the chamber, Thasia says that he has been there for roughly 768 days. She assures him that it is natural to lose track of time once one transcends humanity. In the real world, only 3 minutes have passed outside. Since there is only one door remaining, Thasia praises him, telling him that he is now worthy of her service and has earned the title of Demon Lord. She kneels in front of him and pledges her loyalty. She requests that they now perform the rite of the covenant. Just then, the final door slowly creaks open. With this, the Chamber of Wills slowly begins to erode. In an instant, he is transported to a school's rooftop, and he is now wearing his school uniform. While scanning the place, he figures out that this is his old school. Out of nowhere, Ren barges onto the rooftop, much to Kyo's shock. Kira then appears, wearing the same vile, bullying expression, and tells him to fight. He wonders why Kira is in the chamber. Kira mocks him, saying that he does not need a babysitter anymore, and then impales his sword into the unconscious Ren. Kyo grits his teeth in anger, telling himself to calm down and not take the bait. After all, he is dealing with a demon. He reminds himself that this is all fake and just a dream. However, the Kira in front of him possesses the memories of how he was transported into the new world, how he fought the Demon Lord, and how he won. He eventually became a king. He also knows about Kyo surpassing level 99 inches the Chamber of Will. He remembers every moment he shared with the Demon Lord, and so he is still real even though he is only a copy of the original. Frustrated with their situation, Kyo screams at him and asks why he has always tormented him so. Kira smirks at him, pointing out that there is order in this world. The weaklings and misfits like him are nothing but impurities that taint it. People like him should be culled for the greater good. Kyo scoffs, finally understanding that he could never talk sense into Kira, whether he is the original or not. He then summons his demonic swords, ready to take him on. Kira also eases into his fighting position and states that he is somehow grateful for Kyo's existence. He claims that Kyo made their group perfect simply by existing as a loser. For him, it is fun and thrilling stepping on the weak. Angered, Kyo swings his sword at his sworn enemy, screaming at him. This man made his life a living hell, and many people stopped going to school because of his bullying. This does not faze Kira at all, as he does not show any remorse and instead downplays his sins by saying that it was just kids bullying each other. While Kyo is trying to strike him, Kira confesses that it was not the Demon Lord who killed Ren, but him. Ren dared to call for peace and unity between the two races amidst the war. If they could not share the same goal, then it was better to eliminate him. He adds that he never got along with Ren in the first place, and that Ren had been picking fights with him since the first day of school. Kyo manages to grab him and slams him to the ground with violent force. He chokes him, but Kira states that Kyo will always be stuck at a low level because he has no resolve to kill. Triggered, Kyo drives his sword into his chest. Seemingly immortal, the copy simply laughs at how pathetic he is. If Kyo had only had the courage and strength to fight back before, things might have been different. But now it is too late. His friend is dead, and he was not able to protect Ren. Kyo impales him repeatedly with his sword as his emotions get the better of him. Kira lies unmoving on the ground, yet he continues mocking his rival. Tears stream down Kyo's face as he feels tormented by the man he loathes the most. Kira congratulates him for winning and reveals that he is a shapeshifter while slowly shedding his form. He is a monster that can take the shape of the one his opponent fears the most. Among all the beasts Kyo fought, he is the strongest, capable of tapping into memories, emotions, and thoughts. At that moment, he sees that Kyo's fear has found a new target. Just then, he transforms into Kyo's appearance, revealing that what Kyo fears the most now is himself and who he has become. As if on cue, the system declares that he has successfully unlocked the Will of the Demon Lord's skills. Thasia congratulates him for defeating the last will, but Kyo remains unsettled. He trembles in fear as he realizes that the stronger he becomes, the more he is losing himself. As he starts to spiral, Thasia hugs him from behind and tells him that everyone hesitates when they wield new power. What matters most is that he knows how to control himself and remain true to his goals. Kyo relaxes at her words and watches as Thasia opens a portal back to the original world. He realizes that he just has to make sure he uses his power to save the people important to him. Kira used his power only for himself, but Kyo swears to the memory of Ren that he will use his strength to defend those who seek help. They are transported back to the mines, where Riku sees him standing beside Thasia. The man is holding an unconscious slave in his grip after beating him. Upon seeing Kyo with a girl, Riku smirks and remarks that he has the audacity to play around despite being a slave. He declares that Kyo needs to be taught a lesson. Thasia urges her master to ignore the man for now, as they still have things to do. Though beaten up, Tatsu apologizes to Kyo for hitting him earlier and says that he is one of his real friends, admitting that he was only afraid of the punishment. Kyo decides to test the Demon Lord's power that he has gained. Thasia agrees and tells him that he should enjoy his new power. He raises his hand and begins gathering his power into his palm. Kyo and Ren are in the classroom, looking out a window. Kyo wonders why Ren would help someone like him when there is no benefit. Ren replies that he is not helping because he wants something in return. He does it because he can't stand seeing injustice. He adds that someone with a kind heart doesn't deserve to get beaten down. He tells Kyo that he should hold his head up high, as he is stronger than he thinks. Back in the present, Kyo remembers these words. He vows to save all of his friends as he sees Riku dragging Tatsu. Riku looks at Kyo and says his face is making him angry. He gets a detonator and says that if anyone defies him, he just has to press the button and the collars will explode. He laughs, drunk with the idea that he can end a life with just a finger. It is short-lived, however, as Kyo easily rips the collar away from Tatsu. Riku is stunned as his two companions arrive and wonder what is happening. He then asks for a level scanner. He looks at what it says and is shocked, since he believed Kyo was just at level 5. The dials spin rapidly, and the device eventually explodes, unable to read such a high level. Riku's buddies laugh, thinking it means Kyo is just too weak to register. Thasia smirks and says such a cheap toy cannot measure the Lord's power. Kyo begins to glow as he says he will use them to test his skill. He activates the ability, Abyss Walker, and zooms right at his opponents. He grabs Riku's companions and smashes their heads into the ground. Riku and Tatsu are both left awestruck. The slave owner says they were both above level 40. He then looks angrily at Kyo and says he will tear him apart. The young man pretends to be scared but then casts Dark Hole. It starts sucking Riku in. His weapon is pulled from his hand as Kyo says he will be confiscating that. Riku's face is now filled with fear as he asks Kyo what he is. The young man replies that he is simply the loner that all of them use to make fun of. Fear overcomes Riku, and he starts to run away. Kyo then tends to the injured Tatsu, who asks how he got so strong. Thasia suddenly appears, looking furious because Tatsu spoke to her lord so casually. Kyo says it is fine and then asks his friend if he wants to get back at them. Tatsu says yes but has no idea how. Kyo summons all the weapons he has and asks his friend to distribute them to all the other slaves. Tatsu notices that they are all high level. Kyo then explains that he has adjusted them so anyone can use them. He swears to remove all the collars, then hands a blade to Tatsu. Sometime later, a guard in the video room declares that there is an emergency and that backup is needed. A voice on the radio asks what is happening, and Riku shouts that there is a slave revolt. We see all the prisoners beating the jailers using their newly acquired, awakened weapons. They then rush for the exit. Riku is in their way, but he immediately cries out in fear when he sees the group descending upon him. In the video room, the guards are now likewise shaking. The slaves continue their passionate escape, killing everyone in their path. Kyo watches them from behind, as Tatsu tells him that they can handle it. He adds that he will organize a rebel army with the people in order to fight the Empire. He then looks Kyo directly in the eye and says he is their ray of hope. Kyo is surprised for a moment, then heeds their words to hurry up and get upstairs. He and Thasia then break into a sprint, heading in the other direction. He wishes his companions well, then arrives at the hole in the wall. He keeps moving but still can't accept that he is seen as a light of hope. He remembers how he just watched while his friend was being bullied. Now, tears start to form in his eyes as he realizes that for the first time, someone expected something from him. The thought fills him with passion as he leaps into the air. The wind blows in his face as he feels like he can do anything. Meanwhile, in a grand throne room, Kira hears the reports of the slave revolt. He orders Karen to call the 4 sages. She smiles and guesses that this means a compatible vessel has appeared. She then asks if Kira's mad, but he says no. He is actually happy, thinking this will be a good way to kill some time. In the Nikal Castle Imperial Conference Room, Kira is having a meeting with the 4 sages. He quickly updates everyone on the status of the Demon Lord's successor and says they are surely aware of the implications. If word gets out that the Demon Lord's will was stolen, it would be a disgrace to the citizens. He then asks Kaido how the search for the successor is going. Kaido replies that he has deployed magic surveillance drones across the Empire, but he still can't track him, as the picture he has is too blurry. Kira is clearly not happy with this answer, and Kaido starts to sweat. Kira then tells everyone that he is not interested in hearing makeshift reports. He wants actual results the next time they gather. He smiles and says he is counting on them as we see the 4 sages looking worried. Elsewhere, we see a poor area filled with ramshackle dwellings. A hooded figure walks down the street and sees all the impoverished people. A voice informs him that this is Rotown, the lowest tier city, a dumping ground for those not blessed with power or wealth. No matter the race, the Empire oppresses them all. A bird then lands on Kyo's shoulder, startling him. It is Thasia, who says she would stand out too much in her demon form. Impressed that she can transform, Kyo watches as she adds that she can take the form of most creatures. He then asks what the next step is. She says that no matter how transcendent he is, the Nickel Empire's power is still immense. To fight the Hero King, they must hurry to liberate the 4 heavenly kings, who are currently imprisoned by the 4 paragons of the hero's army. Kyo has never heard of them, so Thaja explains that they are 4 powerful individuals like her who serve the Demon Lord. They were gathered from 4 different races, and using the power of the will obtained through this covenant, they wreaked havoc during the war against the hero's army. However, after the Demon Lord was defeated, they lost the power of the will and were reduced to slaves. The 4 paragons under the Hero King each govern one of the 4 areas of Nickel, and multitudes suffer under their reign. Kyo now sees what he has to do. Thaja adds that by forming a covenant, the 4 kings can regain the power of the will. Kyo sees the wisdom in the plan. Having more allies will be helpful. If they are suffering, then he must help them. No one should be enslaved. Thaja is happy to hear this, and sees he is indeed a vessel fit to rule the demons. They then head forward to rescue the first of the 4 heavenly kings. A large coliseum stands in the city, filled with cheering spectators. A host announces that the Undead Games begin today, then asks the owner to announce the first matchup. A white-robed figure points at 2 individuals, and the match is confirmed. The fighters enter the ring. In the red corner is the hero of the kobolds, Raiga. In the blue corner is the one-eyed slaughtering tank, Saikyu. A bell rings, and the death match begins. The 2 combatants charge at each other as Kyo watches, wondering what is going on. Thaja, now in the form of a mouse, says the arena is run by one of the 4 paragons. Here, demons are forced to fight and people bet money. She calls it a disgusting entertainment facility for ugly humans. Kyo is sad to hear this, but he suddenly asks why he is also in the cage with the other participants. Thaja explains that entering as a contestant is the easiest way to infiltrate the place. He then looks at the fight and realizes that his rival has not changed at all. Back when he was a student, Keiji would force weak students to fight each other for entertainment, laughing maniacally while turning others into a spectacle. Back in the arena, Kyo looks up and sees that Keiji is still the same. The host walks into the arena and draws the crowd's attention to the member of the 4 paragons. Keiji says both fighters showed great spirit and that he is pleased. Thaja whispers that the truly disgusting part will now begin. Raiga slashes his opponent's arm and drives his sword through Saikyu's body, killing him. Saikyu falls to the ground as the match ends, but Keiji is not happy. He says he wants to see more fighting spirit and activates his skill, commanding the dead body to excite him some more. He casts Corpse Ascension, and Saikyu's eye opens as his heart beats once more. He rises to his feet, resurrected. Thaja explains that they fight until their limbs are torn off, and they can no longer stand. That is the rule of the Necro Royale. Kyo is shocked to see a skill that resurrects the dead. Raiga doesn't want to hurt anyone else, while Saikyu cries, saying he no longer wants to fight but he can't resist Keiji's power and attacks anyway. Kyo is all too familiar with the pain of being resurrected after dying. He decides he can't watch anymore and is going to help. Thaja tries to stop him, saying freeing the 4 heavenly kings is the top priority. Kyo argues they have no time and don't even know where the 4 kings are. An orc sitting in the corner then speaks up. He asks if they could speak more quietly, then asks Thaja why she has come here after all this time, as we see that he is the Orc King, Ogus, one of the 4 heavenly kings. Thaja introduces Ogus to Kyo as one of the 4 heavenly kings. She turns back to her humanoid form to kneel before the Orc King. She states that she came to ask for his aid to free the captured demons and defeat the Hero King. She asks that he form a pact with the Demon Lord and fight by their side against the Empire. Ogus tells her there is no point since fighting them again just means losing everything again. He regrets all that has happened to him since the victory of the hero's army. He recalls how the humans burned their village and slaughtered many orcs without mercy while also looting anything of value. He saw how they burned his wife and child right in front of him. The sight of their bodies turning to ash is still fresh in his mind. He then recalls how they were forced to kill each other in the arena. It pains him to say that he has killed many of his comrades repeatedly. He deems himself unfit to be a king since he could not protect anyone and has lost everything. He says he dreamt of revolt so many times, but he had no power without the Demon Lord's will. He encourages Thaja to look around to see that everyone trapped here has already lost hope. He tells Thaja that she can't possibly understand what they have gone through. He screams out that she can't understand their rage and resentment toward those who have taken everything from them. He also thinks it is too much for her to ask to fight when they don't even have a Demon Lord. Kyo nervously raises his hand and introduces himself as the new Demon Lord. Ogus does not believe him and calls him a talking stick, which hurts Kyo's pride. Thaja tells Ogus not to be rude, since he is talking to the true successor to the Demon Lord's will. Ogus could not believe it, so he stared at the man's face and touched his cheek. He also asks why a human like him does not seem to be afraid of him. Kyo answers that after he had heard his story, he came to realize that demons have families too, and now believes that humans and demons are not too dissimilar. He tells August that he thinks that he is a kind soul. August remembers how humans ran away and feared the orcs every time they appeared in their cities, how they beat them up and wanted them to die just for simply existing in their space. August is intrigued that this is the first time a human is not afraid of him. Meanwhile, the match outside the cell has already concluded, with one of the combatants in pieces. The crowd goes wild at the brutal scene. On the other hand, the winning warrior is in tears for killing his friend. Keiji is on his throne and announces to the crowd that the next match will have August fight the newcomer to the death. The screen shows August and a censored picture of Kyo's face as the announcer announces the next death match. August is shocked, but Kyo is more annoyed that he has to be in the spotlight. August sees how carefree Kyo seems and tries to put it in his head that their fight will not end, even when they are dead and are torn limb from limb. Thaisha tells the Orc King that he does not need to fear anything. August comes out of the red corner and is introduced by the announcer as the undefeated champion. Kyo comes out of the blue corner and is announced as the rookie newcomer. Both combatants go to the center of the ring and look at each other. Keiji is excited that brutality will be certain. He urges both combatants to give them excitement. August is still uneasy that he needs to face Kyo, but the man calmly tells him that he will be fine. Kyo removes his hood, showing the crowd what he looks like. Keiji is shocked that he is looking at Kyo. Kyo glows in dark energy and tells August that the first thing he will do is smash the arena to pieces. He puts his hand on the ground, which makes the entire field crack into pieces. August is shocked that he has that kind of power. The crowd runs for their lives as the bits and pieces of the arena rain down on them. Meanwhile, Keiji is fired up to see that Kyo is the chosen one who has the will of the Demon Lord. The attack ends, leaving an arena filled with cracks as if it were one damage away from being broken into pieces. Kyo tells Thaisha that he only used slightly more than half of his power since there are civilians around. The orcs are staring at Kyo, believing that he truly is the Demon Lord. Keiji approaches Kyo with an excited fighting spirit. He tells Kyo that he will kill him. The priest activates his ultimate skill, and countless corpses rise from the ground as revived zombies. Behind Keiji is his army of the undead. In a flashback, Kyo recalls when Nakano struck him hard inside their classroom. He crashed to the ground, pain spreading as students reacted loudly. While visibly nervous, Nakano urged Kyo not to give up. Meanwhile, Keiji declared that this was not the limit of Kyo's strength, pushing him to rise. The students roared, demanding that he got back on his feet. Kyo struggled on the floor, forcing himself to move despite the damage as Keiji urged him to endure and show his true grit, and telling him to fire up the crowd. Presently, a sudden announcement declares that the arena's manager has descended personally, causing the crowd to rile up in excitement. Keiji appears, commanding everyone's attention. The announcer introduces him as one of the Empire of Nikel's 4 champions. A matchup is revealed between Keiji and Kyo, who is described as a mysterious rookie, drawing loud reactions from the audience. Kyo is named, his expression calm but focused. The announcer speculates about his fate in this duel, until a gong strikes and officially declares the death match has begun. Keiji gestures forward, ordering the battle to continue. Undead creatures surge into the arena, flooding the battlefield. Kyo moves forward with August behind him, both alert. The undead cry out in agony, begging for release even in death. Kyo realizes these zombies were once victims of the arena. He observes that the undead are being forced to fight. His expression tightens as doubt creeps into his mind. The undead charge toward him from all directions. Suddenly, August's blade flashes over Kyo's head, as he comments that for a demon king, he is far too kind. August continues to attack as he gives the zombies a swift defeat as he offers mercy to them. He turns to Kyo as he gets his opinion as the future demon king. Kyo hesitates, his resolve wavering for a moment. Suddenly, Keiji mocks August as he praises the brutality of the fight. He demands the zombies to give them a show until their last breath. Thaisha watches as she silently notes that Keiji's skill forcibly resurrects the dead as restless undead. However, she states that nothing on this scale has ever been seen before. August suddenly addresses Kyo and asks him to take down Keiji. He challenges Kyo to prove himself as the Demon King by defeating the arena's owner. The chief of the orcs prepares his weapon, stepping forward aggressively. August declares that he will handle the undead personally. He unleashes a powerful flaming attack, overwhelming enemies in his path. Kyo watches in shock, realizing that they will be unstoppable if August joins them. He thanks the orc and charges forward with full force. Keiji grins, eager to settle the fight head-on. Kyo moves at incredible speed, exciting the game master. Keiji laughs, noting Kyo's quickness but dismissing it. He dodges as he tells him that speed alone is not enough, criticizing him for fighting too directly. Keiji counters as he delivers a crushing blow, sending Kyo flying. Keiji taunts Kyo, questioning whether he has grown weaker. He takes off his shirt to show off his body and declares that a national champion like him can never be beaten, boasting about being the strongest among the 4 champions despite being a monk. Kyo steadies himself, covered by the smoke. Keiji's expression hardens after seeing him recover. Kyo stands without a scratch and remarks that next time, he will dodge instead. Keiji laughs confidently, surprised that Kyo is still standing after taking a direct hit. He smirks, clearly enjoying the situation as the crowd's excitement grows. Kyo braces himself as Keiji rushes forward with overwhelming momentum and excitement. Keiji delivers a flurry of punches without hesitation as he aims to defeat the new Demon King, believing that if Kyo falls here, Kira and the 4 will be on fire after. A dark aura looms, stunning Keiji instantly. A system window suddenly appears, signaling a skill activation of the Dark Avatar Shadow clone. Keiji suddenly realizes that the figure he struck was only a clone. Kyo appears behind him, mocking that the only thing overheating is Keiji's way of thinking. August praises Kyo, calling out his name in excitement. Another zombie cries out as he strikes August from behind, but reinforcement arrives and cuts down the incoming zombie in a single clean motion. August freezes, stunned by the overwhelming presence. His squad rallies together, declaring they will fight alongside their leader. August grins confidently, shouting that this is the moment to defend their pride. The warriors charge forward, clashing with multiple zombies at once. Meanwhile, Keiji yells in frustration as he grabs Kyo and demands him to fight fair. Suddenly, a zombie grabs Kyo's foot from the ground without warning. He shouts angrily, questioning how this could be considered fair when Keiji's zombie just grabbed him. Keiji mutters under his breath, preparing another powerful strike. He explodes with effort, unleashing a flurry of strikes fueled by raw strength. Kyo calmly deflects the attacks, reading every movement. Kyo's eyes widened, realizing the gap between them. Kyo's demonic presence manifests, mocking Keiji for his weakness. Keiji lunges forward in rage, shouting in desperation, but Kyo raises his hand and declares that it is finally his turn. A system notification appears, announcing the activation of Kyo's ultimate skill, Abyssal Butcher's Vault. Keiji scoffs at Kyo, mocking him as weak and unworthy of standing in the arena. Kyo issues a strange command, deploying a sealed structure. A transparent cube forms around Keiji, trapping him inside without warning. He panics, striking the barrier as purple light flickers around his body. Keiji assumes it is just a cheap trick and tries to force his way out. Keiji throws a punch, but the surrounding darkness absorbs his movement instantly. The cube seals completely as the space around him collapses into silence. The announcer realizes that Keiji has been locked inside a mysterious black box. Inside, Keiji struggles to sense anything and questions where he is, until Kyo's calm voice explains that only his voice can reach him now and his necromancer skill has been deactivated. Outside the box, the chaos stops as the zombies fall across the arena. Kyo calmly declares he is returning Keiji's own words to him. A quiet memory flashes through his mind as Keiji told him that there was no escape. Sweat runs down Keiji's face as fear finally sets in. He shouts for release, demanding a fair fight. Keiji's thoughts spiral as he realizes he may actually lose his life here. Panic overwhelms him as he searches desperately for a way out. Outside, August recalls how easily Keiji was defeated moments ago. Suddenly, Kyo asks for their help and declares that everyone must focus their attacks on the executioner's casket. His sinister gaze displays as he explains that power will begin to gather as damage is redirected into Keiji's prison. August watches in silence, visibly shaken. He recalls Keiji's past cruelty as he told them that their race had no right to life. Keiji grabbed August's head and stated that their only value was in fighting. With a cold smile, Keiji announced that they should put their lives on the line to entertain the crowd. As August returns to the present moment, he rallies his warriors and declares that this is their chance for vengeance. August thanks Kyo as they charge forward, striking the black box together. The announcer notes that the warriors rain down attacks non-stop from all sides. August unleashes a secret technique as a heavy strike crashes down. A devastating axe technique splits the ground with overwhelming force. The arena shakes as the attack lands directly on the sealed box. Kyo observes calmly, impressed by the power being released. He moves closer, preparing to end the fight himself. Dark energy gathers as his skill begins activating. The system announces a forging skill as a dark weapon takes shape, unleashing the underworld blade. He slides to a stop with his blade lowered, dark energy still trailing behind him after the finishing strike lands. Time inside the box feels distorted as Keiji loses all sense of duration. Kyo explains that time itself bends within the sealed space as he commands the release of the executioner's casket. Suddenly, the skill deactivates, shocking Keiji. He realizes that Kyo is planning something far worse. Keiji convulses as the accumulated damage finally releases. The crowd watches in horror as the box opens. Keiji screams as the backlash overwhelms him. His body collapses under the sheer force he was forced to endure. The announcer declares in shock the defeat of Keiji by a rookie. Keiji lies motionless as the battle officially ends. Keiji reflects quietly after the underwhelming fight and recalls how he was bullied by Keiji before. Suddenly, August kneels and formally apologizes for earlier disrespect. He acknowledges Kyo as the one fit to rule as Demon King. He responds and declares that slaying the Hero King is no longer a fantasy. August kneels and offers to form a pact, declaring his resolve to fight alongside Kyo. A strange artifact responds, releasing a surge of blue light as the pact takes shape. Ki watches in shock as the power gathers in his hand. Thasia explains that the will of the Demon King will now flow into him. Kyo hesitates, unsure if he can truly handle this power as he raises his blade. Kyo formally recognizes August as the successor to the Will of Fire. The pact is sealed as energy spreads across the arena. Suddenly, Kyo and August are shocked after Keiji roars in anger, trying to get up with overwhelming force. He boasts that his soul still burns and that his power is far from finished, declaring his intent to absorb every fallen soul in the arena into himself. Keiji's body swells as dark energy surges violently around him. Kyo and August react in shock as the pressure intensifies. A system announces the activation of an Ultima skill called Grave Dawn. A monstrous manifestation appears, towering over the battlefield. Keiji stares at himself in disbelief, questioning if this is his true power. He lashes out in rage, screaming for them to perish. Kyo remains focused, noting Keiji's persistence. August steps forward, telling Kyo to leave this fight to him. Flames gather tightly around August's clenched fist, declaring that the power surging through his body is his pride as an orc. August proclaims that he has finally reclaimed what was always his, but Keiji insults him, calling him a lowly and savage creature. A system announces that the Will of Fire skill has been unlocked. Thasia calmly remarks that cremation is the traditional end, while August vows to reduce Keiji to ashes. Keiji and August scream as their powers erupt uncontrollably. August raises his weapon and unleashes 36 hells of the mountain axe. A massive infernal strike crashes down, engulfing the battlefield. Keiji is consumed by overwhelming flames as he howls in despair. The arena is swallowed by fire, leaving destruction in its wake. The announcer panics, declaring that the Demon King's army has returned. Spectators flee in terror as chaos spreads through the stands. Kyo and his allies stand amid the aftermath of the battle. Keiji is shown defeated, completely crushed. August stands tall, flames still burning from his horns. News spreads that Keiji is dead. Kira observes, gathering light in his palm. He reflects that Kyo was interesting and strong as he grieves for his death, prompting him to swear vengeance and declaring he will never forgive Kyo. Kira snarls in fury, vowing to kill Kyo with his own hands. Kyo recalls the aftermath of the previous night's battle, where they defeated Keiji. The demons were forced to fight among themselves, causing the arena to collapse. With the conflict over, the survivors were tended to instead of being finished off. August and the remaining warriors were completely worn down by the prolonged battle, so they rested inside Kyo's spatial skill known as the Sanctuary of the Dark Realm. Everyone was confirmed to be safely hidden within the shadowed space. As the night passes, the city returns to calm under the morning sky. News spread quickly throughout the empire about the fall of one elite demon. Word circulated that Kyo was chosen by the Demon Lord's will. A wanted notice appears, marking Kyo as a target. In a street food stall, selling demon-based cuisine, Kyo casually eats in public despite being wanted. Thasia comments that a demon lord doesn't flinch at fear and should eat to conserve strength. Kyo remarks that fighting on an empty stomach is pointless. Determination flashes in Kyo's eyes as he commits to eating. He bites into the food without hesitation. The reaction is immediate as the flavor overwhelms him. He openly praises how good it tastes, admitting he has never eaten anything this rich or complex before. A sudden disturbance interrupts the moment. Kyo turns to see a chained beast named Hippo, a resident of the beast forest, being dragged through the street. The captors insult the creature and refer to him as something disgusting, mentioning that they are hauling him to a laboratory for experimentation as instructed by Kagwa. A weak plea for help comes from Hippo, catching Kyo's attention and prompting him to stand up. He instinctively steps forward, politely asking them to let the young beast go. One of the captors mocks Kyo and threatens him, but Thasia calmly calls them foolish mortals as she sips her cup of coffee. One captor suddenly senses danger, until shock spreads as Kyo moves and grabs them in an instant. Both captors are struck down before they can react. Kyo stands over them as they collapse. Nearby civilians react in disbelief at how fast it ended. Bystanders shout for the guards to be alerted, while Kyo acknowledges that they caused a scene and asks Hippo to get out of the area. Hippo is shown still chained, reaching out weakly. Kyo kneels and checks on him, reassuring him and asking if he is alright. Hippo explains that he has been stitched together from several species, thanking Kyo for helping him. He finally introduces himself and remarks that Kyo is pretty kind for a human. Tension flares briefly when Thasia warns Hippo to watch his mouth. She then calms down as Kyo introduces himself, with Thasia reassuring Hippo that they are on his side. Kyo asks why things turned out this way, prompting Hippo to explain that he escaped from a laboratory where chimeras are created. A flashback shows beasts being captured after the Demon Lord's death. Wings and legs were torn off and stitched back by a cruel human beast tamer, revealing that Kagwa was leading the operation. Fear spreads among the beast folk as everyone trembles at the situation. The forest's former guardian, Lyra, is revealed to have transformed into a hideous being. Thasia immediately recognizes Lyra as one of the 4 heavenly beasts of their Demon King's army. In a secret facility, Lyra is held captive among other beasts by Kagwa, a beast tamer and synthesis skill user, prompting Kyo to lower his head after learning about the biological experimentation inflicted on the beast folk. Kyo refuses to ignore what's happening and insists on acting immediately. He asks Hippo to lead the way, but the beast hesitates, warning that Kyo cannot defeat Kagwa directly, and Hippo will get caught immediately once he goes out to the city. However, Thasia reassures him and proposes traveling by air as she transforms into her dragon form. The group prepares to depart as Thasia lowers herself. Kyo reacts in shock upon learning that Thasia can transform into a dragon. He then asks her if she can fly as slowly as possible. Thasia prepares for takeoff, launching into the air as her wings spread wide. Thasia accelerates rapidly into the sky. Kyo and Hippo scream as the speed overwhelms them. The city blurs beneath them as they fly forward. Hippo tells them to go straight and warns that at this speed, they'll arrive too quickly. Suddenly, Hippo turns to Kyo and asks for his identity after recalling how he defeated 2 humans in an instant. Kyo admits he isn't a hero, just someone who couldn't look away. He explains that suffering, whether human or demon, demands action. Hippo recalls being saved long ago by someone similar. He acknowledges Kyo's kindness, relieved that someone like him still exists in the world. Thasia notices a familiar structure below, prompting Hippo to recognize the place where he was imprisoned. Fear resurfaces as memories return. Kyo reassures him that there is no need to worry, declaring that he'll handle what comes next. Suddenly, Kyo's face is pushed back as they descend toward the lab, prompting him to brace himself midair. Kyo and Hippo scream as they plunge downward. The blast tears through the structure. Smoke and debris fill the night sky. Kyo coughs, struggling to recover. He steels his resolve, despite the pain. Inside the facility, cages line the walls. The sight confirms the cruelty within the lab, prompting the group to move deeper inside as they see everyone in tatters. Deep in the lab, Kagwa senses an intruder. He comments on the rarity of someone reaching this far. Irritated, he demands the interference stop, prompting him to order one of his lab experiments to eliminate the intruders, revealing that he is talking to Lyra, the Beast Queen. Kyo fumes as he walks past iron cages, questioning how anyone could treat life as worthless while imprisoning Lyra. A stitched beast sits silently in its cage, its body crudely fused together. Another beast stares back with dulled eyes, clearly under control. A captive beast struggles weakly as Kyo promises to save them. He pauses, unsettled, as the corridor grows heavier with silence. Hippo tells them to keep moving straight ahead toward the lab. Kyo suddenly stiffens, sensing something wrong. A faint sound echoes from the darkness ahead, stopping the group. Heavy claws step into view, scraping against the floor. Lyra finally emerges from the dark, baring her fangs. Lyra snarls violently, her presence overwhelming the corridor. Hippo shouts her name in shock, recognizing her instantly. Silently, Thasia identifies her as the proud queen of beasts, calling it a cruel sight. Kyo stares forward in disbelief, realizing who stands before them. Lyra lunges with a deafening roar, prompting Hippo to realize that Lyra is being controlled by a skill, but she can't hear them. Thasia yells for everyone to fall back immediately, then she summons a frost barrier between them, bursting upward. Ice spreads across the corridor, forcing Lyra to halt. Lyra smashes through the ice, charging straight ahead. Kyo steps in and takes the hit head-on. Thasia screams Kyo's name in panic, while Hippo shouts in disbelief. Kyo struggles up, declaring he doesn't want to hurt Lyra and only wants to save everyone trapped here. Kyo kneels and pleads, asking Lyra to lend him her strength. Her cold voice answers, calling him a pathetic human. Lyra snarls, rejecting the idea of lending her power. She attacks again with overwhelming force, causing Kyo to be slammed into the ground, barely enduring the damage. Kyo realizes he has never felt power like this, even within the Chamber of Will. Lyra suddenly notices Kyo is not resisting at all. She senses an abnormal power far beyond physical limits. Kyo realizes she cannot fight back against the control. Lyra's eyes harden as a killing intent forms. Kyo confirms she is being controlled by a skill, so he decides to cut the controlling threads directly. A magic circle flares as his ultimate skill activates. A black box manifests, while Kyo commands the skill to deploy, putting Lyra inside a purple cube. Kyo launches forward, shouting for control to overtake. Lyra is pulled into the black subspace as the box seals. Kyo explains that isolating her will undo the skill's effect and declares the control will be nullified. Kyo releases the skill, purifying Lyra instantly. Lyra's eyes sharpen as awareness returns. Hippo cries out her name in panic as she falls into the ground. Kyo and the others watch her carefully as Lyra slowly opens her eyes. Thasia speaks calmly, telling her it has been a long time. Lyra recognizes her and asks why she is here. Kyo states they have come to rescue everyone trapped in the facility and confirms the beast tamer's control is broken, citing Hippo's testimony. Lyra listens in silence and says it feels like waking from a long nightmare. A flashback shows the beast tribe's forest being ravaged by the Nikal Empire. Lyra recalls losing her power and being unable to fight back as those she swore to protect were taken away. She remembers everyone falling into Kagwa's hands. Lyra recalls Kagwa smiling cruelly as her comrades were torn apart, chained and helpless. She could only watch. Overlapping memories show her rage as she questions what kind of lord fails to protect even one thing and dares them to kill her instead. Kyo quietly declares they will take everything back. He adds that there is no need for a true queen to die. Lyra questions whether she is expected to trust humans and demands to know who Kyo really is. Without hesitation, he introduces himself as the next demon lord. A sudden explosion catches everyone off guard as he steps forward. Lyra and the others react in shock. A familiar voice greets them casually, saying it has been a long time. Kagwa finally appears and greets Kyo. The latter repeats Kagwa's name with restrained anger. Kagwa reflects on holding himself back, while Kira and the others enjoyed themselves. He declares that one day he wants to dissect Kyo as well. He steps into view, drawing everyone's attention. Kagwa remarks that the timing could not be more perfect, and announces his ultimate research is complete. He explains the experiment involves fusing life forms using the synthesis skill. A massive structure pulses, as he calls it, the ultimate life form he has always dreamed of creating. The ground trembles as something enormous begins to rise. Kagwa boasts that he combined the strengths of every beast without discarding a single trait. Kyo stares upward in disbelief at the creature's sheer size. A wide shot shows Kyo and the others dwarfed by the monster. Kagwa proclaims it the strongest life ever born, and orders them to behold its body. He names the creature Ekato, opening its maw and saliva dripping as it roars. Shock spreads across Kyo and the others as they sense its presence. Lyra reveals even the other forest lords were absorbed. Kagwa declares they are hunting now and admits he planned to use surviving beasts and humans as new test material. He orders them to stay out of his way. Kyo reaches out instinctively, shouting for him to stop. Ekato advances, each step shaking the ground as Thasia admits that she has never seen anything as massive as the monster. Lyra warns that the forest beasts are in danger, and beyond Rotown lies next. Suddenly, Ogus appears and Kyo asks if he will fight with them. His towering form displays as he responds that Kyo's summons came sooner than expected. Lyra is shocked to see Ogus and questions if he sided with humans. Kyo tells them to save the reunion talk for later and warns that countless lives will be lost if Kagwa is not stopped. Hippo insists that even Kyo cannot handle that thing. Kyo calmly responds that it is fine and reveals his true identity as the Demon Lord, prompting Lyra and Hippo to react in stunned disbelief. Kyo calls Lyra's name, and as Demon Lord, he asks her once more for her answer. He extends his hand and asks her to join him in a pact and fight by his side. In a flashback, it is revealed that Kagwa was completely absorbed by life itself. To him, life was nothing more than toys meant to be played with and altered. He gripped a pair of scissors, smiling as twisted curiosity filled his eyes. Presently, beasts try to escape with fear in the forest, aware of the danger approaching. Ekato stands watch as the forest grows tense. It chains the poor beast as they struggle to get away from its restraints. Civilians look up as a towering silhouette appears beyond the village. Kagwa sits atop Ekato and reveals himself, looming over the city. His sinister laughter echoes as he spreads his arms in delight, proudly calling Ekato his greatest creation. Suddenly, the glowing artifact forms as energy gathers in Kyo's palm. He declares his authority as the will of the forest itself. He swears a pact, binding the power before him. Lyra snarls as she expresses her hesitation silently after serving a frail demon lord, calling him no better than a chained beast. Lyra spreads her wings, issuing a deadly warning if Kyo does not kill Kaguya, vowing to tear out his own throat if he fails. Kyo feels the crushing pressure but forces a strained smile. Suddenly, Hippo decides to stay behind and save everyone trapped in the lab, crying out and begging Kyo not to die. The moon hangs high as Kyo smiles and prepares to move. He leaps forward, shouting that they will take Kaguya down themselves. He asks August and Thasia to stop the monster's movements while he and Lyra will strike Kaguya from above. His allies respond instantly, shouting their agreement. Lyra calls upon the forest to lend her strength. Green energy surges as her wings beat violently. The will of the forest is unleashed. A massive roar ripples through the land, shaking trees and earth. The beast's path twists as the power takes hold. Kyo charges forward, making it clear he has not accepted her terms. Kaguya clicks his tongue, annoyed by the interference. Akato slams the incoming strike aside in a brutal counterattack. Kyo and Lyra are thrown back, barely reacting in time. August and Thasia rush in, prompting the orc to unleash his flames to stop the monster's movements. Thasia shouts to aim for the enemy's legs. A blazing ring of fire forms as a devastating technique is unleashed, while ice surges forward to counter the flames. Fire and frost collide violently against the monster's body, prompting Kaguya to stare in shock as the clash unfolds. Akato charges forward, its fangs bared. The monster's eyes light up as it prepares another strike. The three-headed monster blasts fire simultaneously toward its attackers, prompting Thasia and August to react in alarm. A blinding explosion engulfs the battlefield as the Great Purge is unleashed. The blast tears across the forest with a deafening roar. A beam of light cuts through the smoke from above. Akato absorbs the energy, trembling under the strain. Kaguya laughs wildly, declaring no one can stop them now. Suddenly, Kyo appears from behind and thanks his allies for distracting their enemies. Kaguya turns his eyes, seeing Kyo raising his arm as he prepares to strike. Lyra grins confidently as they lock their target and Kyo activates his ultimate skill. Kaguya panics and questions what Kyo is planning, while Thasia and August leave the rest up to Kyo. Kyo's eye sharpens as dark power gathers, signaling his intent to act. A black vortex forms in front of him, pulling violently at everything nearby. Akato struggles as the suction drags him forward, unable to resist. Shock spreads from Kaguya's face as Akato is visibly being pulled in. Kyo clenches his fist and tightens the pull, declaring the crush. Akato roars in pain as the pressure tears at his body. The vortex swells and distorts, growing denser and more unstable as the devouring eclipse of darkness takes hold. Lyra stares in disbelief, realizing this power belongs to the demon lord. She launches forward, wings beating hard as Kyo steadies himself. Kyo notes they barely manage to neutralize the threat and asks where Kaguya is. Lyra suddenly questions how long he plans to sit on her back, prompting Kyo to apologize and admitting fault for her forest's destruction. Kaguya's shadowed figure appears ahead, revealing the fight is not over yet. The smoke clears up, showing Kaguya's injured body and reveals that he borrowed a few parts moments before Akato vanished. He reappears with a different form and activates his own ultimate skill in fury. Kaguya is furious and swears he will never forgive them. Lyra lands between him and Kyo, declaring she has no intention of forgiveness either. She calls Kyo and orders humans to stay back as she claims the fight. Kyo watches silently, understanding her resolve. Kaguya shouts for everyone to move as the ground trembles. Kaguya unleashes a massive downward strike, aiming to obliterate them all. He charges straight through, vowing to carve Lyra apart. Their attacks collide in a blinding flash of force, as Kaguya declares that they only exist to serve as material for his research. Kaguya laughs madly, preparing to dissect them and ordering them to yield. Lyra roars that no matter how many wounds or lives are taken, their pride will never fall. She activates the will of the forest, calling on its power. Kaguya recoils in shock as green energy binds and devours him. He screams in confusion as the forest itself turns against him. His cry echoes as the attack overwhelms his body, stunning Kyo as he observes the battle unfold. Kaguya howls for help as his strength finally collapses. His body is torn upward, powerless against the force restraining him. Light spreads as the world tree manifests, uniting heaven and earth. The beasts watch in awe, calling it the dog god. Hippo's eye fills with tears as he realizes it has truly returned. The world tree towers above them, its roots glowing with life. Lyra admits her hatred for humans still burns, but her duty remains. Kyo steps forward and Lyra says she knows whom she must serve. Lyra kneels and swears her strength until the hero king falls, pledging everything she is. After the fight, the beast forest stands reborn, as Kyo recalls the fall of the Nea Karl Empire's 4 archfiends and Kaguya's defeat. From the destruction, a new sprout rises as the great tree is born within the beast forest. Kyo wonders what he should do next as he looks ahead, reporting that the Demon Lord army has grown to a total of 132 troops. The group reacts, noting how quickly their forces expanded in just a few days. Kyo admits the Sanctuary of Dark Serenity is starting to feel cramped. He decides they need to build a larger domain and places his hand down. Darkness spreads beneath them as space itself begins to distort. The surroundings are swallowed by darkness, leaving everyone confused. A new domain manifests, revealed as the Abyss Dynasty, the Throne of the Deep. Kyo explains he created a subspace of darkness where everyone can live in peace, clarifying the space is only a temporary refuge. Kyo states he will head out to challenge the Hero King. He tells everyone to use this time to heal and recover. The group protests, saying they were hurt too and this fight belongs to them as well. The beast folk insist Kyo should not shoulder the burden alone. Hippo declares they are ready to fight whenever he calls on them. Kyo smiles and asks if he can count on them. A week later, the four stand before several graves, quietly calling out Kagwa and Keiji's names. Kira gently places flowers, wishing the fallen to rest in peace. Kaido mourns the loneliness left behind, while Karen calls the situation cruel. Kurissu admits he cannot forgive what happened. Kira declares they cannot let this slide and vows to act. The group agrees to find Kyo and avenge what was done, promising to see it through together. Meanwhile, the scene shifts to the eastern territory of the Nia Karl Empire, the nightlife district known as Boogie Town. A woman flirts with Kyo, inviting him to have fun as he reacts in shock. Another woman clings to him, offering to serve him, leaving him overwhelmed. Kyo panics, questioning what this place is as the attention escalates. Thasia reveals that the entertainment district is run by Kurissu, one of the four lords. Kurissu is exposed as someone who kidnaps elf women and enslaves them using hypnosis. Thasia declares that what is happening is exactly what she intended. He admits she used to do the same things in her original world and always escaped punishment. Thasia states she cannot allow scum like Kurissu to roam free, prompting her to order the club to be crushed until nothing remains. The disco ball spins as a customer enjoys himself. The shop Kuro runs is identified as the target. Club Paradiso comes into view, glowing with decadent lights. Inside, dancers perform as patrons lounge around. Kyo looks uneasy, calling the place scary, as Thasia reassures him she has his back. Suddenly, chaos erupts as someone yells at them for interfering. An entertainer apologizes as tension spreads across the room. A customer complains loudly that his expensive jacket is ruined and demands an explanation. It is revealed that Fuji is the one in trouble and apologizes nervously while promising to clean the mess right away. The customer leers at her, making crude remarks and suggesting she serve him instead, prompting Fuji to freeze in fear as his behavior grows more disturbing. Kyo looks at them sharply as the customer tells Fuji to stop and orders her to move. The customers snarl, shouting for her to be dragged away as others restrain her. Kyo moves in an instant, slamming a punch into the customer's face. The blow lands cleanly, blood spraying as the customer is sent flying. Kyo stands firm as the room falls into stunned silence. Chaos erupts inside the club as screams ring out, guests panic, and someone orders security to be called. Fuji freezes in shock, seeing a familiar face and wondering if it could really be him. Kyo reacts in disbelief after he recognizes Fuji. She desperately grabs Kyo and begs him for help as the situation spirals out of control. Fuji reveals she recognized Kyo the moment she saw his wanted poster and knew he would come. She breaks down, admitting she only pretended to be brainwashed but can no longer endure it, calling the place a hell where free will is forbidden. Kyo tries to calm her down and asks where Kurissu is, but she tells him that he went out. A powerful figure suddenly crashes down from above, shattering the floor in a violent entrance. An overwhelming bloodlust floods the area, instantly silencing the room. Kyo demands to know who the intruder is, learning he is the club's security guard. Thasia recognizes him and realizes that he had been brainwashed by Kurissu too. The man reveals himself as one of the four heavenly kings of the Demon King's army, introduced as Self-Knight Captain White Knight Weiss, radiating terrifying pressure. Thasia warns Kyo that his speed and reflexes are described as unmatched even among the Demon King's forces. Thasia acknowledges that even Lord Kageta would struggle to catch him at full speed. The knight launches himself forward in an instant, destroying the platform beneath him. The attack is declared no easy task, as his speed reaches terrifying levels. Kyo reacts in shock as the knight closes the distance in a blink. The knight's strike collides with Kyo's defense in a blinding flash, shaking the entire venue. The club is bathed in pink lights as the disco ball spins above the chaotic floor. A sudden clash of blades rips through the room, drawing gasps from the crowd. Patrons freeze as panic spreads, unsure of what just struck. Another violent impact follows, shaking the space even harder. Thasia and Fuji tense up as the disturbance grows closer. Weiss lunges forward, launching a swift attack aimed at Kyo. The latter reacts instantly, dodging the strike with terrifying speed. Kyo grits his teeth, realizing Weiss's movements are accelerating mid-fight. He focuses his power, determined to break the hypnosis, controlling everyone. Weiss presses on, his momentum refusing to slow. Kyo channels more strength, but Weiss pierces his hand. The attempt fails as Weiss slips through again, faster than before. Kyo calls out, refusing to back down despite the widening gap. He slides across the floor, planting himself firmly. Sweat beads on his face as he realizes a frontal assault won't work. Kyo sharpens his focus, searching for an opening. He decides to deceive Kurissu's vision and strike from a blind spot. Dark energy surges as his skill activates. A shadowy arc forms, slicing through the air toward Kurissu. Weiss counters with Raven Drive, unleashing Jet Black Dash. Multiple shadow clones crash down around Kurissu in rapid succession. Weiss deflects the assault, his weapon cutting through the darkness. Sparks explode as steel and energy collide. The floor cracks under the force of their exchange. Kyo is thrown back but manages to recover mid-fall. Kyo steadies himself and murmurs an apology under his breath. He charges again, pouring everything into a single decisive strike. His blade connects, slicing through Weiss's guard. Kyo staggers as chaos sprays across the floor. The impact finally brings Weiss down as silence hangs heavy after Weiss collapses. In a flashback, Weiss recalls the time he was helpless on the ground, showing the elf women gathered in fear. He begged Enola to wait for him, but she could not hear her after being hypnotized. Suddenly, Kurissu declared that Weiss would come with him as he grabbed his head. Kurissu smirked, claiming he'd let Weiss protect the woman he loved, but her love would never be his again. Presently, Weiss wakes up from the nightmare, trembling, fury and heartbreak mixing in her eyes. He screams Enola's name as Kurissu drags her away. Panic spreads as the group searches desperately. Enola's absence leaves a crushing silence behind. Weiss demands answers, his voice cracking with rage. Thasia steps forward, telling him to calm down, and promises that she came to save them all. Weiss falters, her strength giving way to shock. The aftermath of the slaughter flashes through her mind. Images reveal the elves being violated and killed under Kurissu's rule. Weiss stands frozen, haunted by the fact that he worked as a bodyguard for Kurissu. He realizes how cruel the irony truly is. The group gathers in stunned silence as the weight of everything sinks in. A voice cuts through the tension, announcing that Kurissu has returned, as elves welcome their master back. Kurissu enters casually, mentioning that visiting a friend's grave left him in a gloomy mood and orders the music changed. He notices the guests, displaying his sinister gaze. He observes the group below and acknowledges Kyo's presence. He also notices that Weiss has awakened, prompting the elf to demand to know where Enola is. Kurissu reacts with mild curiosity as he recalls that she was Weiss's girlfriend. He answers him coldly, stating that Enola is already dead. He explains that the hypnosis broke when Enola interacted with a customer, but the memories remained. He calmly describes how his hypnosis directly controls the brain, calling it perfect for business. Kurissu dismisses Enola's death as a waste, saying she could have been more useful alive. Weiss trembles in rage, struggling to process what he just heard. He shouts that he has no heart. Kurissu responds without remorse, saying he has no sympathy for subhumans and admits personal resentment. He steps forward, accusing him of killing his friend. Kurissu announces to the audience that today's show is cancelled and declares Kyo the new Demon King to be executed. He orders the DJ to play something hype as the atmosphere turns hostile. Kurissu tells Kyo to step forward alone while warning him not to try anything. Kurissu claims he will release hypnosis over the entire shop and questions whether Kyo understands what that means. He confidently states that everyone will remember everything once it's lifted. He watches Kyo closely, testing his reaction. Kyo admits she has no choice but to obey as he walks forward under the purple lights as the others watch anxiously. Fuji calls out to Kyo in alarm, but he reassures them silently, thinking that brute force alone won't solve this. Kurissu praises him mockingly and prepares to demonstrate his control. Kurissu explains that hypnosis activates the moment he makes contact. He activates his skill, unleashing super hypnosis and inducing false pain. Kyo realizes he feels no immediate difference. Kyo boasts that hypnosis is ideal for close combat and mocks Kyo's skill choice. He strikes Kyo directly, confident in his advantage. Thasia and Fuji react in shock as the blow lands. Kyo is sent crashing back, overwhelmed by the sudden force. Kurissu explains the placebo effect, saying the brain can be made to believe damage is fatal. He advances confidently, radiating control and amusement. He claims hypnosis works best on soft opponents and explains how hallucinated damage becomes real. Kurissu stands over Kyo and declares that he will teach him his place. Kurissu lashes out in rage, screaming that Komiya and Kagwa were murdered by trash beneath him. He laughs as he closes in, claiming he can make even a normal punch feel like death through hypnosis. He declares an instant kill, turning Kyo's own strike into his weapon. Kyo is slammed back, while Thasia tries to step in, but Kyo stops her, insisting he's fine, while warning everyone to stay back. Kyo steels himself, deciding that if someone has to suffer, it will be him. He forces himself to endure, searching for a way through the pain as he recalls their past lives. Kurissu mocked him before, praising his tolerance for pain as he pressed the attack. Presently, Kurissu tells Kyo that he lost because he is weak, but he suddenly staggers in surprise, hearing someone stopping him. Weiss bursts in with speed, striking Kurissu before he can react. He snarls, admitting Weiss beat him in speed but sneering at her technique. Kurissu follows through with another blow, refusing to let him recover. He activates another skill, dark energy coiling around his hand. He grins, inviting Weiss to kill him if she dares. Kurissu claims he has a brilliant idea as he hypnotizes Weiss. He boasts about crowning a new demon lord while Kyo watches helplessly. Weiss freezes, his eyes glowing red as the hypnosis takes hold. Kyo struggles forward, begging him not to feel guilty for killing him. Weiss trembles, tears spilling as his body refuses to obey his will. Kyo struggles as Kurissu orders Weiss to kill him, his voice drowning out everything else. Scarlet splashes across as the strike is unleashed. Kyo is stunned after Fuji blocks the strike, prompting him to question why she saved him. Kurissu laughs wildly, mocking Fuji for finding courage too late. Fuji begs Kyo to stay alive and tells him he must defeat Kurissu to save everyone. Kyo struggles to breathe, fear and pain tearing through him. Fuji screams for everyone to listen, warning that losing their heads means total defeat. The others watch helplessly as her life slips away. She pleads as others watch not to let Kyo's spirit break and begs him to live. Her voice reaches him through the haze, calling his name again and again. Kyo holds Thasia's wounded body, barely conscious. Kurissu points and laughs, calling Fuji's death pointless and ridiculous. He mocks the crowd, treating the tragedy like comedy gold. The hypnotized elves around laugh along, feeding his cruelty. The room fills with mocking voices and endless ridicule. Kyo kneels in despair, clutching Fuji as they roar with laughter. Kurissu orders the execution to continue, commanding Weiss to skewer them all. Kyo whispers that he won't let Fuji's deaths be meaningless. Kyo activates his ultimate skill, unleashing demonic power. Dark energy wraps around the arena as his will flares violently. A black execution chamber forms, sealing Weiss inside. Kyo declares he'll cut off Weiss's hypnosis once and for all. Kurissu laughs at first, boasting that the skill stores every attack it takes. Thasia suddenly charges forward, declaring no one will lay a hand on their king. Ice shards rain down as her spell floods the chamber. Kurissu dodges effortlessly, sneering that the attack won't touch him. He smirks, claiming his speed far surpasses Weiss's. Kurissu suddenly closes in and asks Thasia if she ever thinks of changing masters. Thasia warns Kurissu to watch his tongue as the tension thickens. Inside the black box, Weiss believes that he hasn't lost everything yet, while Kyo reassures him that he is not to blame. Kyo recalls Fuji's final words and reassures himself that they heard them clearly. Weiss repeats the words meant to keep Kyo's heart from breaking. He steels himself, believing Fuji managed to reach the elves, and asks Weiss for the power to take down Kurissu. The sinister relic manifests before Weiss, offering a pact as dark energy swirls around it. He stares ahead in shock as Kyo addresses him directly, calling him the White Knight. In the club, Kurissu restrains Thasia, mocking her weakness and insisting this was all she could ever amount to. The taunt cuts deeper as Thasia is told that if only she had been stronger, none of this would have happened. Kurissu coldly suggests that the demon lord may still be alive, its words laced with cruel certainty. Kurissu sneers down at Thasia, declaring that weakness itself is a sin and mocking her inability to protect anything. He raises his hand and announces that he will personally deliver judgment upon Thasia. Dark energy suddenly surges as Kyo releases the black box, stunning Kurissu. Weiss appears as he coldly states that the one who truly deserves judgment is Kurissu himself. Weiss senses a familiar presence as emerald wind gathers around him. His eyes widen as he declares that he will pass judgment himself. Kurissu steps forward with a mocking grin, taunting Weiss for breaking free from the hypnosis at last. Smiling confidently, Kurissu boasts that Weiss still cannot keep up with him in terms of speed. Kurissu suddenly lunges forward in a blur, questioning whether Weiss truly remembers him as he launches his attack. Weiss steps forward protectively as Kyo stands nearby, until the White Knight disappears in a flash. Weiss bursts forward, closing the distance in an instant with Kurissu. He reacts mid-charge, realizing the will of the wind has fully returned to Weiss. The White Knight surges past the airflow with steady resolve, vowing that he will not fall behind again. His ultimate skill activates as the will of the wind surges outward in a blinding arc. Weiss narrows his gaze, locking onto his target as the wind sharpens around him. A storm of blades erupts as he unleashes Tempest Blossom Slash. The attack lands in rapid succession, each strike driven by relentless momentum. Kurissu screams as crimson slashes carve across his body, the force overwhelming him in an instant. Weiss walks away as Kurissu's body collapses behind. Kyo stares in shock, realizing the attack was so fast he couldn't even see it. Nearby elves cry out in panic, screaming Kurissu's name. Others shout in anger and confusion, demanding to know how this could happen. Suddenly, someone yells for everyone to back away, calling somebody the worst as chaos erupts around them. Kyo senses something is wrong, realizing Kurissu is down but the hypnosis hasn't been lifted. Weiss stiffens, feeling a surge as he realizes that Kurissu is getting up. He activates his ultimate skill, revealing he can still deceive even while bleeding past his limits. Severely wounded, Kurissu laughs as he unleashes Nightmare Salvation, declaring his body isn't done yet. He announces that he will now release the Ultra Hypnosis, binding everyone in the entire place. Kurissu wonders what would happen if everyone's memories of being violated in this place suddenly came flooding back at once. The group snaps their heads around in alarm, realizing something far worse is about to happen. Kyo remembers how Kurissu used to be the captain of the tennis club back in the academy, but Kurissu turned the club into his personal prostitution ring. He lured beautiful freshmen, drugged them, took obscene pictures of them, and then sold them to people who could use these pictures for blackmail. Many girls dropped out or attempted to end their lives as a result. Since Kurissu was the police chief's son, the bully was unstoppable, and the club spiraled darker and darker. In the present, Kurissu is smiling as he is about to release all his enslaved women from their hypnosis to let them feel despair from all the memories of the dark deeds they did under the spell. The bully yells out that he will show how much happier his slaves are under his dream. He declares the deactivation of the spell. Instantly, all the women get their consciousness back, and all the memories while under hypnosis flood them. Kyo shouts that Kurissu is a heartless and evil man. Kurissu replies that the women are just tools to be used and that tools that easily break are worthless. Kurissu smiles and laughs maniacally as he anticipates the women drowning in despair. All the awakened women are crying, yet they also look determined because they remember Fuji's words to them to not let Kurissu crush their hearts. Kurissu and everyone else are shocked to see that the women are attacking all of the customers. Kurissu is helpless as he sees that they won't stop their attack. The bully asks why they are not drowning in despair. The women answer that they will never let him control their hearts ever again. Kyo is happy to see that Fuji's voice has reached them. The Demon Lord leads Weiss and the women to charge at Kurissu all at the same time. Thasia freezes Kurissu's legs, making him unable to move. Kyo and Weiss strike his ribs with a blade at the same time. Kurissu is still calm as he tells his enemies that everything always goes his way, no matter what. He unleashes his ultimate skill, which makes his body bigger and more muscular. He becomes so strong that he pushes everyone away from him. As energy fills more of Kurissu's body, he explains that his self-imposed hypnosis means he has gotten rid of all his body limitations. He yells that no one is ever going to get in his way. Weiss thanks Kyo for being the reason he has regained his pride and strengthened the hearts of the women of his clan. He admits that Kyo is worthy of being his demon lord. He wears his helmet and winds up a bow as he pledges his loyalty to Kyo. Kurissu is just about to get a hit on Weiss, but the elf fires an arrow made of wind towards him, which pushes the villain back until he hits and cracks the wall behind him. Kyo, Thasia, and the women all cheer. Weiss addresses the elven women and tells them that they can do as they wish to Kurissu since he is now weak, but still alive. Kurissu opens his eyes and sees that the women he had enslaved are approaching him. All of them look in pain and angry as they cry. Kurissu is sweating as he makes the excuse that they should not be angry at him, since he has kept them alive all this time. Secretly, the man is pressing a red button in his hand in a panic. The women all have makeshift weapons in their hands as they get nearer and nearer to him. Kurissu starts crying as he begs them not to kill him. With Kurissu dead, Kyo and his vassals discuss how it will only be a matter of time until the Empire realizes that Kurissu has been defeated and how they must leave quickly because of it. Meanwhile, the Nikol Castle and its road are glowing in bright light. A force suddenly breaks into Kurissu's nightclub. It is revealed to be Kira, who is in mid-run. He suddenly attacks Kyo with his blade, and the Demon Lord is just barely able to block it with his. Kira says hello to him as if they were acquaintances. Kyo reviews that Kira's skill is using light to move at the speed of light, all while the villain strikes at Kyo with a barrage of high-speed sword strikes. The barrage would just not stop, and it makes Kyo understand how Kira defeated the former Demon Lord in mere seconds. All Kyo can do is be on the defensive. Kira gets behind him in the blink of an eye and slices the demon lord at his side. Weiss and Thasia sneak behind Kira. The villain sees them coming and counters before they can get a hit. He throws both of them to the ground. Kyo screams for Weiss and Thasia's well-being. Kira tells him that he should not dare care about his comrades when Kyo already killed 3 of his best friends. He yells at Kyo with anger about how his friends are gone because Kyo led his monsters into a killing spree. Kyo's anger also shows as he replies that it is Kira who has killed so many innocent people. Kira says he does not understand why Kyo would side against the humans when the demons are not even his family. Kira sees him as someone who went against their purpose of subjugating the demons and now sees him as a traitor of their race. Kyo answers that he was never told to trample on the weak while building a world that is just convenient for themselves. Kira sees that there is no changing Kyo's mind. He activates his light magic and concentrates. Kyo can tell something bad is about to happen. Kira glows brighter, and the place is getting hotter. Kyo recalls that this is the power that burned everything during the war. With Kyo's shadow magic, he envelops Weiss, Thasia, and the elven women in shadow. The flash of light destroys the nightclub building. All of the citizens of Nikol are enveloped with a light as bright as day for 48 seconds. Once he turns off his power, Kira thanks all his fallen friends for making him strong enough to take his revenge. He sees that Kyo is on the ground, unconscious. Meanwhile, a group of giant mechanized robots has arrived on the scene. Kira tells Kaido that he is late. The head of one of the robots opens up, revealing that Kaido is piloting it. Kaido cries for Kurissu and hates that he only pushed the transmitter button for reinforcements at the last second. Kaido slaps himself to calm himself down and go back to business. Kira tells him that he wants Kyo alive, so he can be made an example in front of as many people as possible. Kaido is excited since they can make an entertaining live broadcast of their enemy's execution. Kira leaves Kyo in Kaido's custody as he says that he will mourn for Kurissu and the others. Kaido readies his comrades for work and calls the name of Lizzie. The cockpit of the robot beside Kaido opens up. The pilot, who is holding a gigantic hammer, jumps down to the ground. Lizzie nears Kyo to get a closer look at the new demon lord. The dwarf comments that he looks a lot weaker than the old man who came before him. Kaido orders Lizzie to take Kyo to the sky whale to be imprisoned. Kaido also tells him not to let this be an opportunity to switch sides and resume her former heavenly king status. Lizzie replies that Kaido has no worry since she has no plans to start a rebellion that doesn't turn a profit. A few days later, Kaido is on a live stream to introduce the new demon lord. Through his live stream, he shows Kyo trapped in his cell to the public. He announces that the rebels' execution will be held in 10 hours at Nikol Castle. He also announces that Nikol's top idol, Karen, will perform a solo live concert before the execution, and that they will be streaming everything for everyone to see. Kaido makes a cute pose as he says goodbye to his viewers. Kaido looks at Kyo in his cell and tells him that he looks pathetic. He warns the demon lord that the handcuffs binding him are a mana-suppressing device developed by Lizzie, which means he can't use his skills to escape. He also warns that they are currently on a ship 10,000 meters in the air, and that even someone as strong as Kyo can't survive that height. Kaido threatens to slaughter all of Kyo's demon friends once they execute him, alarming Kyo. Kaido then leaves him to his loneliness and anger. Kyo thinks about how nothing has changed, regardless of how strong he has become, and is beating himself up for it. He remembers how people used to beat him up and feels like he is still the guy on the ground being stepped on. He feels disappointed that he could not live up to anyone's expectations, while he thinks about all his friends that he feels like he has let down. He regrets that Ren is not here to give him more courage. He hates that he is not as strong as his fallen friend. He then hears someone coming. To his surprise, it is Tatsu, his friend from the mines. Tatsu jokes that he has a knack for getting caught. Tatsu explains that he started a rebellion in the slave mines, but they were captured immediately. After that, he and the other escapees were brought aboard the airship they are now in, called the Sky Whale. Surprisingly, despite being a prisoner, he bonded with Lizzie over engineering and got himself a job on the airship as a mechanic. Kyo is glad to see that he is doing great. Tatsu tells him that he has not given up on taking down Kira. Lizzie appears behind Tatsu, catching him red-handed with talks of killing Kira. Lizzie explains that Kaido's clairvoyance gives him the power that allows him to see everything for thousands of miles, and that he used his ability to capture those who oppose the Empire. It is also explained that there are many drones flying around the Empire, all developed by Lizzie, that let him expand his power. Lizzie warns Tatsu threateningly to never be careless with his mouth around the airship. Tatsu apologizes. Lizzie then approaches Kyo and introduces himself as the former dwarf king from the 4 heavenly kings, surprising the demon lord. Lizzie continues to say that he is now completely on the Empire's side. With that, the dwarf begins to walk away from him. Kyo asks him if the Empire is holding something over him, which stops Lizzie in his tracks. Kyo continues to ask how he is okay with the Empire continuously using his technology against demons. Lizzie screams at him for being a human who would never understand, and claims that there is nothing he can say to get him back into the fight against the Empire. As he leaves, he advises Kyo not to struggle in his last moments of living. Tatsu tells Kyo that he has heard that Lizzie made a deal with the Empire to spare the dwarf village from massacre in exchange for his technology. Meanwhile, at the Nikko Castle throne room, Kaido reports to Kira that Kyo's execution is on track. Karen regrets how 3 of their friends are already dead, but they still need to fulfill the promise they made with them. Kira agrees. He explains that they need to kill Kyo and successfully extract the mana from the Demon King's will to make their plan a reality. He promises that the 3 of them will see it through for the sake of all their fallen friends. Kaito and Karen make determined looks as they agree with him. Meanwhile, Lizzie is in his workshop, hammering something on an anvil. As he toils away, he complains about how Kyo has gotten caught so quickly. It is revealed that he has just finished a black armor, which he says is made from black dragon scale. He sees it as the only armor that can defend itself from the Hero King's light magic. Later, Kaido comes to Kyo's cell to tell him that it is time for his execution. He makes fun of how Kyo only ruled as the Demon Lord for a short while. Kyo looks back at him with rage. Inside the Shadow World, Ogus and Lyra ask Weiss and Thasia if their Demon Lord is safe. Thasia reports that Kyo brought them to this space just as the Hero King was about to annihilate them, and believes that they would have died if their Demon Lord had not done that. She also says that she does not know if Kyo is safe, and that all they can do is believe in their lord. Meanwhile, at the Empire's castle, Kaido is looking at his phone to reminisce about the pictures of their high school days. He tells Karen that their old days were the best. He remembers how he pranked someone with fake cockroaches and how they locked someone in the gym vaulting box for an entire day. He says he thinks about those days a lot and how he was surrounded by friends laughing every day. Karen tears up with him as she agrees. The memory of those days makes Kaido even angrier at Kyo. He swears that he will let the world see him die and make him an example to anyone who wants to cross them. He asks Karen to use her star power to help him. Karen shows a determined look as she says that she wants to debut a song and dance she has been working on. She boards the platform that will send her up to the stage and makes a peace sign to Kaido as she says she will give it her all. The chained-up Kyo is forced to kneel on a huge wooden platform with one of the 2 guards next to him carrying a sword for his execution. A huge crowd came to see his execution. It amazes Kyo that so many people look so happy and cheer for someone's death. Lizzie is somewhere where there are levers in front of him, and he tells Tatsu to be ready for what they are about to do. Meanwhile, Kaido is in the control room and is about to begin the broadcast with the control crew. The speaker broadcasts Kaido's voice to tell everyone that they are sorry for keeping them waiting. The crowd goes wild with cheers and tears. The concert stage starts to fill with smoke. Karen appears on the stage like a sparkling star. The crowd goes wild for her. It is explained that her ability is charisma, and that this means her voice, movements, gaze, and smile pull people to her and enslave their souls. Even those watching the concert from their homes are bewitched by her to the point of worship. To those bewitched, everything she says becomes the absolute truth. Even those who are supposed to be kind-hearted now torment the weak without hesitation just because of her charm. Karen continues to perform her song and dance, but pauses to face Kyo on the platform. She asks him to apologize before he dies for killing 3 of her friends. Kaido is in the control room and is excited to see that Karen is channeling the nation's rage on Kyo. He smiles as the camera closes up on Karen. The girl demands an apology, so the crowd chants that he apologize too. Kyo feels that he is surrounded by faces that hate him. He laughs. Karen notices and asks why he is laughing. Kyo tells her that it is funny to him that they are cornering someone, setting the mood against them, and stripping away every ally so they can attack, just like what they always do. He tells her that they are the ones who hurt people and then pretend they are the victims when things don't go their way. His comments make Karen so angry that she can barely contain it. Kyo continues to say that they killed his friend, Ren, and then sealed the 4 heavenly kings. He warns her that, despite thinking that they have cut off everyone he cares for, he still has allies. Behind Karen is a giant robot coming her way. It lands on the spot where Karen is and almost hits her. Everyone at the scene is shocked to see the robot appear. Kaido knows it is Lizzie. Kyo tells Lizzie that he knew that the dwarf would come for him. Lizzie asks why. Kyo says that it is because the demon lord should always trust his heavenly kings, and knew from his eyes when they were talking in the prison room that the dwarf king inside him still lives. Lizzie laughs that Kyo reminds him so much of the kind nature of the previous demon lord. Kaido shouts through the speaker to tell Lizzie off for being a traitor. He orders everyone to execute both the demon lord and the traitor. He also announces that they will burn the dwarf village and slaughter all the dwarves. Kaido commands all of his mech-suited soldiers to come out and attack. Kaido says that he will turn what they did into live, top-tier entertainment. Lizzie laughs at Kaido's anger and reminds him that he was the one who built his robot army. Meanwhile, at the Sky Whale, Tatsu is in its control room. He pushes the button to shut down all the robot's mana power sources. All of the robot army falls from the sky. Meanwhile, Karen is running away from all the chaos. Kyo's handcuffs release automatically, surprising the guards behind the Demon Lord. Kyo instantly knocks the guards out with his free hands. Lizzie reveals to Kyo that he programmed the cuffs to release. Meanwhile, Kaido's robot is getting up. He says that all he needs for the robot's power supply is his own mana. He recharges the robot, and it starts moving again. Kyo asks Lizzie if he would form a pact with him and fight by his side. Lizzie answers that he will add on to their contract, giving him the black armor that can block out Kira's light magic. Kyo wears the black armor and quickly feels how it perfectly fits his dark power. Lizzie remembers how much he regrets seeing the former Demon Lord die right in front of him. He says that he must learn as an engineer and must protect his Demon Lord this time. Kyo thanks him. For now, Kyo sees the hope of defeating Kira and ending his slaughter and oppression. Just as they are about to start their pact, Kaido's robot dashes and pushes Lizzie away from Kyo. Kaido tells Lizzie, as he slides his robot's head to the ground, that he will kill him before he makes their pact. Kyo is about to go to Lizzie, but 3 sorcerer enemies get to him first. They activate their individual elemental abilities and project them towards Kyo. Kyo effortlessly extinguishes their spells and threatens to kill them if they come any closer to him. The trio of sorcerers gets so intimidated that they freeze up and do nothing to him. Meanwhile, Kaido is continuing his assault on Lizzie. He can predict every move Lizzie makes with his mech suit, as his clairvoyance sees every detail of Lizzie's motion. With his ultimate version of clairvoyance, his robot gets covered with eyes. Kaido brags about how his power perfectly fits robot combat. He charges an energy beam from the mech suit and blasts it at Lizzie's robot. The robot gets blasted back and damages its arms to nothing. Kaido's robot catches up and pushes Lizzie back to a wall. As he has Lizzie pinned, he asks him how it feels to be killed by his own creation. With a smile, he insists Lizzie tell him how he feels. Kyo is suddenly on Kaido's robot head without him noticing. With a punch, the robot gets blasted away and goes crashing into a wall. Kyo asks Kaido how it feels to be punched by the person he used to bully. Kyo then apologizes to Lizzie for being late and explains that it was because he found it too difficult to defeat enemies without killing them. It is revealed that he knocked out dozens of sorcerers, and they are scattered throughout the ground. Lizzie is just glad to see that his black armor is working just fine. Meanwhile, Kaido has already gotten up. He readies his missiles and then launches them all directly at his enemies. A large area of the castle explodes and gets awash in flames. Kaido laughs as he believes that he just killed his enemies. Lightning cracks the sky. Lizzie emerges from the flames while talking about how convenient the covenant to the Demon Lord is because it has not only given him greater power but also repaired his robot. Kaido sees that Lizzie's robot is whole again and more powerful than ever. Lizzie declares that it is time to settle their battle. Kaido resorts to the fact that they will still lose despite his robot being repaired. He charges while firing many missiles, all while saying that he is the best in mech battle because of his ability. Lizzie dodges all his missiles effortlessly and says Kaido's eyes are useless if his offense is still bad. Lizzie's robot unleashes a blade from its arm that vibrates and lights with thunder. He slices Kaido's robot in two. Lizzie gives his new Demon Lord his thanks. The enemy robot then explodes behind him. Kyo tells Lizzie that he should be the one who should be thanking him, since it is only because of Lizzie that they have defeated Kaido. The Demon Lord sets his sights on Kira next and walks towards the castle entrance. Meanwhile, Kira is in a room, working on some sort of magic gate that is still not whole. A blue beam sneaks up on him, but he catches it with his hand. Kira smiles as he expects Kyo to come. Karen bursts into the room where Kira is. The idol is in a panic as she tells Kira that Kaido is now dead and that Kyo is coming. Kira accuses her of just standing by while her friend was slaughtered. He pulls out his saber and stabs her, justifying that she would be more useful to him dead. The Hero King absorbs her power through the saber stabbed in her. He lets her body lie on the ground, justifying his action by saying she is more useful for raising his power than just keeping her around. Meanwhile, Kyo is about to enter the castle. Blocking his way is the Golden Knight, who guards the Hero King. The Golden Knight steps forward and dashes at the Demon Lord with his sword. Kyo touches the ground, and it breaks with a mighty explosion. Kyo and the knight still trade sword strikes despite how destroyed the area has become. Kyo powers up his final attack and dashes at the knight until he is behind the armored enemy. The hit from the sword causes a vortex that sucks the knight whole. Kyo enters the castle to see Kira ready for him. Kira tells him that he should have killed him when he had the chance, and as he powers up his light power, He swears that this time he will do it. Kira summons many giant monsters, all in white and gold. Kira declares that it is his duty to destroy the demon lord. Kyo goes to his knees, so Kira assumes that he has realized he can't win. In his kneeling position, he touches the ground, which becomes black with his power. Kyo replies to him that it is typical of Kira to underestimate his victims. Through the darkness, he opens a portal to the shadow dimension. Out of the portal rise all the allies he has gathered through his journey. The last to rise are the 4 heavenly kings and Thasia. Kira comments that the trash just multiplied. Kyo calls for his army to charge, so both the holy monsters and the demon army clash. While their minions fight, the demon lord and the hero king face each other. The battlefield has so much destruction that it glows with light. Kira says that he has no time for Kyo since he has an empire to rule. Kyo replies that people have suffered because of him. The demon lord recalls all the people who lost so much at the hands of Kira. He tells the hero king that he will never forgive him. Kira replies that the people he mentioned have no rights. He points his sword, and it lights up as it charges energy. He blasts Kyo with light that is visible even from outside. The smoke clears, and Kira is surprised to see that Kyo has withstood its awesome power. The only area that is not destroyed is the floor behind Kyo. Kira tries to psych out Kyo by mentioning Ren. He admits that he was the one who killed him. Kyo replies that he already knows this, but he is not flustered. He says that he did not come for revenge, but to strike him down for those he oppressed. Kira laughs in amusement at how Kyo is burning with purpose. Again, they cross swords. Kira pushes Kyo back, but the demon lord teleports behind him. Kira slices Kyo before he can get near, but it turns out to be only a clone. Kira looks around and sees that he is surrounded by his enemy's clones. Kira activates a rain of light spears, which destroys the clones. The real Kyo appears behind him from a portal on the floor. He stabs Kira from behind. Kira just laughs and grabs the enemy's sword attached to him to prevent Kyo from getting away. He tells Kyo he should have brought a helmet too. The hero king unleashes a light explosion, which makes the castle glow again. Kira recalls when he was still a small boy, being shouted at by his father for not being as good as his brother. A few years later, Kira was crying as his father yelled at him for being friends with people he deemed unworthy of their family. Years later, his father yelled at him for being second in the finals. Kira made an excuse that there was a transfer student who did better, so the father crumpled his exam paper and told him that there is no place in their family for those who are not number 1. The teenage Kira looked so pained by how his father was treating him. He ground his teeth and blamed Ren for being better than him. In the present, Kyo's allies watch the blinding light, and they worry for their demon lord. As the light disappears, it reveals that Kyo has been knocked out. Kira explains that he does not have an ultimate ability because his normal skill decides everything already. Kira points his sword at the demon lord. Suddenly, Kira laughs and names all of his fallen friends. He tells them that their dream has finally been fulfilled. The tower of the castle behind Kira blasts a light that reaches the sky. Kira says that by killing Kyo, they will be able to rewrite the world. Meanwhile, Kyo's consciousness is falling into an endless darkness. He tries to remember that he was taken out by Kira's light. He wants to escape but fears that he can't get out. He fears that he is alone and will die alone. His hand is suddenly grabbed by someone. Kyo looks and sees that Ren has grabbed him to stop his fall into darkness. Meanwhile, Kira and Kyo's armies are still fighting. Ogus, Lyra, Weiss, and Lizzie all activate their ultimate moves against their enemies. The 4 heavenly kings then realize that Thasia is missing. Mysteriously, they see a blue light pass them by. Meanwhile, Kira is concentrating as he makes a speech about how their mission was always to recreate the door once used by the goddess to return to their original world, and that they built their nation for that single wish. Kira also says that only he has plans to use the fantasy world's resources. He adds that he also intends to use magic since it is an energy that holds infinite possibilities. He promises that with it, he will become the supreme ruler of both worlds. He hopes that if he achieves this, then his father will finally approve of him. Kira transforms, now wearing white armor with a helmet and angel wings. He continues to say that the only thing he needs to do now is to use the demon lord's will. He floats with golden light as he declares that Kyo's death will be the foundation of his supremacy. Meanwhile, Kyo's consciousness is with Ren's soul. Ren smiles at him and tells him that he has become strong while he was away. Kyo disagrees and says that he strove to be just as strong as Ren, but ended up being unable to save any of the demons. Kyo instantly regrets saying it, as he realizes that he must look pathetic in front of his friend. Ren bonks him on the head and tells him it's not over yet. Ren continues that Kyo's heart is still beating, and Kyo's soul is still alive, so it is still too early for him to give up. Ren promises to give him all his will and power. He pushes Kyo and tells him to beat up Kira. As Kyo falls again, Ren tells him that his friends are waiting for him, and that he must create a world where no one gets hurt. Kyo wants to say more to him, but he falls again into the pit of darkness. Meanwhile, Thasia turns out to have used her body to shield Kyo from the blades Kira tried to throw at him, and is now injured. Thasia declares that she will not let him kill the Demon Lord again. Kira charges his light and tells her that she should be grateful that she will die together with her master. Thasia speaks to Kyo's unconscious body and tells him that he has no time to sleep since it is time for him to reclaim the dignity that was stolen from them. She yells that it is time for the Demon Lord to get up. Kyo's body suddenly surges in dark energy, something that leaves Kira shocked. Kyo emerges from the darkness, looking like a true Demon Lord with enhanced black armor, horns for a crown, and huge fangs in his mouth that create a perpetual snarl. Kyo promises the now unconscious Thasia that she can leave everything to him. Kira can't believe how persistent Kyo is and thinks Kyo is like a final boss of a game. Kira charges at Kyo, and Kyo charges at Kira back. Their clash is like an atomic bomb. Kira unleashes projectile blades on Kyo. Kyo pulls out bladed claws and blocks all the upcoming blades, sending them back in Kira's direction. The Hero King, Kira, activates a magic circle, which summons an energy blast towards Kyo. The Demon Lord, Teo, dodges, and the blast explodes behind him. Kyo charges at Kira, so the Hero King blocks Kyo's claws with his sword. Their clash somehow connects Kyo inside Kira's memories, and Kyo sees Kira crying because Kira was just yelled at by his dad. Their blades make contact again, and it shows Kyo another memory of Kira being jealous that his father is patting his brother on the head. Kyo can sense the darkness in Kira's heart. Their blades cross again, and Kyo sees the sad little boy again. Kyo realizes that Kira only knew how to belong to a group through bullying. Kira is getting angry that his enemy is acting as if he understands him. The Hero King makes his sword large and bright for a killing stroke, and he tells Kyo not to dare look into his heart. Kyo also summons a giant sword from his shadow world. Light and dark run towards each other again with their giant weapons. Their blades connect again, creating an explosion of light and darkness. The smoke clears to reveal that both combatants' armors are heavily damaged to the point that their faces are now exposed through their helmets. Kyo tells Kira that there must be another way than this. Kira disagrees and then runs towards Kyo with a sword again. Kyo is shocked to see that Weiss has blocked the attack for him. Weiss tells his lord, Kyo, that he will not die alone. Ogus, Lyra, and Lizzie attack Kira from multiple directions. Kira unleashes light that pushes them all back. Kyo asks his kings if they would stay with him just a little longer. They answer that they will battle with him until the end. Kira thanks them for their conviction. Kyo recalls how he has met all the heavenly kings and how glad he is to be with them and fight by their side. He smiles as he cries as he says that he has become a happy demon lord. The kings smile and share his feelings. They all charge at their enemy together. Kira dodges every attack they make despite them attacking as one. He blocks Ogus and Lyra with both hands, leaving Kyo to strike him. Kira gets pushed back, but is getting frustrated, so he readies his light beam attack. Meanwhile, Kyo notices something glowing behind him. It turns out to be Thasia, who is midway through teleportation and joins the battle. All allies charge towards the enemy. Kira's hands and feet get frozen by Thasia, making him unable to make a laser blast or move. Meanwhile, the gateway to the real world opens behind Kira. Kyo is coming towards the Hero King and then strikes Kira with his dark sword. The impact creates an explosion of darkness. As the smoke clears, the demons realize that their demon lord, Kyo, is gone. They, however, see the gate, glowing with dark energy. Thasia fears that their master must have entered the gate. Meanwhile, Kyo is barely conscious as he finds himself in darkness and tries to remember what happened. He opens his eyes, but it is too blurry to see. He tries to find his friends, but he does not know what happened. He finally fully wakes up in a bed, and his wounds are bandaged. He is shocked to see that Kira is on his side, looking at him. He tries to get up to attack Kira, but Kira asks him to calm down. Kira tells Kyo that they are in the real world now, and that their battle in the other world does not matter anymore. He shows Kyo from the window that the real world is now filled with dilapidated buildings, but there are also flying spaceships and alien-looking structures. Kira tells Kyo that humans are no longer in charge of this world. Kyo wonders if the goddess who sent them to the other world knew this would happen. Kira is about to jump out the window with a trident made of light in his hand as he plans to check out the area. He asks Kyo what he will do, but Kyo is too shaken to answer yet.